Hello, kindred souls of Brooklyn. My name is Gary Patella, and I am a chess player. So, what I'm going to do today, since this is Kindred Souls of Brooklyn, is I am going to show a couple of chess games from chess players that were from Brooklyn or are from Brooklyn. So, we all know about Bobby Fischer, very famous chess player, and he was from Brooklyn. I will not show one of his games because all of his games can be found uh, in a lot of different books, videos, and everything else, and analyzed by people that are, quite frankly, stronger than me in chess. Um, and more recently, we have attention on Fabiano Caruana, the number 2 chess player in the world, who competed against Magnus Carlsen in the last World Chess Championship. And Fabiano Caruana, as many people know, lived in Park Slope, Brooklyn for a very long time. But because of his fame in the chess world, practically all of his games have been gone over and analyzed and looked at over and over and over again. So I chose two different players that were also from Brooklyn. The first game we're going to look at is Edward Lasker versus Israel Albert Horowitz. Now, Horowitz was born in Brooklyn in the year 1907, and he is most famous for the books that he wrote about chess. And in the year 1989, he was inducted into the World Chess Hall of Fame. Now, this game dates back to the year 1946, and it was played in New York. The white person with the light white pieces, as I mentioned, was Edward Lasker, who is a famous chess player, and person with the black pieces was Israel Albert Horowitz. So let's have a look at that game. White played the move d4. Normal move. Horowitz responds with knight to f6. Lasker plays knight f3. Horowitz plays the move d5. We have this symmetrical structure taking place here. Lasker plays e3, indicating a little bit of a slow game, but Horowitz doesn't want a slow game, so he hits out immediately with c4. And at this point, a lot of white players playing this e3 move, this slow structure, might set up this like Kali type setup with the pawn to c3 and bishop to d3. But yeah, he did not play c3. He played pawn to c4. So a battle is already taking place in the center. Horowitz took on d4, and Lasker captured with his knight. Horowitz pushed the pawn to e5, seizing the center, hitting the knight. The knight retreats back, and Horowitz develops his knight to c6. Okay, Lasker develops his knight, but here once again, a little spanner is thrown in the works as Horowitz advances his pawn to d4, hitting the knight. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and knight on c goes to b5. So, as you see, knight on f3 is hitting the pawn, knight on b5 is hitting the pawn, queen is hitting the pawn. 3 attackers, only 2 defenders. That pawn will be lost unless he does something. But he moves his bishop, Does he move it to c5 to protect it? No. He goes bishop b4 check. Bishop d2 to block. And now, Horowitz castles. Says, I know you're going to trade and take my pawn, but I have a plan in mind. So, bishop takes bishop, knight takes bishop, knight on B takes d4. So, white is a pawn up. And what does Horowitz have for this sacrificed pawn? Well, he is further developed. His king is already in safety. White is still 2 moves away. He has to move the bishop and castle. And he had a good idea here. Queen to a5. He's now threatening things like knight c2, double check. Checking the king with both the knight and the queen simultaneously. So, Lasker covered that by playing his knight back to d2. Now, if the knight goes to c2, the queen could simply take it, because it is not also check with the queen. So, what does Horowitz do? Well, this queen actually has a lot of potential from there, and went over to e5. Check. Now here, I guess best was to enter the completely lost game after bishop to e2 blocking and just let Horowitz take the knight. But at master level, if you're a piece up, you're basically winning the game. So